Part of the problem is that we think of time as we think of space, so we think of moving in a straight line through time or moving in a straight line through probability. But all of these points, spatially, exist on top of each other, kind of. They're different points temporally, but they don't relate to each other the same way points in space relate to each other. It's a little bit freer. It's not as rigid. So if we have what could be considered a quantum leap here to this other state, we're not restricted to space, to it spatially. So it's not that we have to travel through all those intervening probabilities. We're just there. They're all next to each other at the same time. I imagine that this is a similar thing that's happening within the atoms when electrons have their quantum leaps and they're excited from the first, I think they're called valence, to like the third valence, and it doesn't move through the second valence, it just goes up to that other electron shell right away. It doesn't need to move through the intervening space. It's because it's moving in, I would imagine, those quark dimensions that are smaller are smaller than we're aware of, and therefore we don't exist in them as much. But the more we study this, the more we come to understand, the more I think that we will be able to exist in those smaller iterations of dimensions. So that's that's what a spatial representation of us moving through probability looks like. Likewise, and here's where we talk about Back to the Future. This diagram right here solves the problems of Back to the Future. The famous grandfather paradox of time travel, where like if I go back in time and I kill my grandfather, what the hell happens? Then I can't exist. He wasn't there to make my parents, and my parents were there to make me, and now I don't exist. And it's a paradox. And universe, time falls apart. Or like in Back to the Future, Doc does that drawing on the chalkboard of the timeline, and then Biff goes back and gives himself the almanac, and it shoots off into this alternate 1985 where Biff rules the world, and Marty's mom is married to him and whatnot. And that's not exactly how things. I mean, that's why when they go back to that 1955, they can't touch themselves, or else time will fall apart. But that's not exactly how it happens. When you go back in time, you instead of just going back to that same derivative track, you're not allowed to do that. It would be impossible to go back to that same point in both of these dimensions, the fourth dimension and the fifth dimension that we were previously, that first little guy that appeared there. But if we go back to another universe on the bulk, another universe fifth dimensional, if we just have a fifth dimensional shift, we can experience that time again. We can still be at that point in the duration as long as we're at a different point in probability. Which, because another universe is formed every time a quark spins up instead of spins down, which is something we don't perceive. There are many derivative tracks that we can go to where we didn't already exist that we don't exist in still, that are pretty much exactly the same as the one that we departed from. So this solves that you can kill that grandfather in the universe next door, and you're in the universe where he didn't exist, and he didn't create your parents, and your parents didn't create you, but you're there because you shifted over to them. I don't know if there's any physical way to do that. I feel like black holes, blah blah blah. We're moving into you go through a black hole, you end up in another universe further on down the bulk. There's actually part of the way that I came across end-brain cosmology, which is what this is to me, my practical ideas about end-brain cosmology. The reason that all came about was as a response to dark energy, which they say is the energy that's acting against gravity, and it's why the universe keeps expanding instead of collapsing back together. We're finding it just keeps expanding faster and faster, and it's not collapsing back together. It's not. Dark energy was the proposed solution to that. There's something that's pushing us apart. But end-brain cosmologists are kind of just like, well, why does it have to be? You're just like saying there is this other energy, but like, why does it have to be that? That doesn't really make any sense, because we're not detecting another energy that's doing that. What we're detecting is that there's not as much gravity as there should be. So what they say is that gravity is actually leaking out of our universe through black holes into another universe, further out down the bulk. So that would kind of be shifting, moving fifth dimensionally. So maybe time travel like that is possible. I don't know. So likewise, when we're moving through those two dimensions like that, we're also shifting around in probability. So just corkscrew patterns, although it's not actually corkscrew. Again, it's not a physical. It's not a physical construct. It's a temporal construct. So we're all staying in the same point physically, or moving through space as we normally move through space, but we can travel all throughout the noosphere or time like that. And that's how we move through it.
All right, so why does this happen? Why are we moving through time like this? How does that work? What is the point of it? Well, it starts here at Earth. Kind of for us right now, this is the center of our world. We're pulled downwards, towards the center of the Earth. So therefore, it's the center of what we perceive. This did change. Like we can intellectually know that this isn't true. With Copernicus, we realized, the Earth is going around the sun. The Earth is being pulled to the sun like we're being pulled to the Earth. So really, the sun's the center of the universe. And then we found out about how the sun's in this galaxy, and the sun's being pulled towards the center of the galaxy. And then there's other galaxies and whatnot. So we understand that the Earth is not actually the center of our universe anymore. But experientially, the Earth is the center of the universe. And it has this magnetic sphere. Which it's this the iron core spinning in the middle of the Earth creates this magnetic field around the Earth, and like our physical bodies are drawn to the physical Earth, I believe that our information is preserved in this magnetosphere. All of our ideas, all of our personalities and emotions and whatnot. Is stored in our brain as electromagnetic energy. It's same thing in the computer. It's just fields of electromagnetic energy. Also on tapes, VHS tapes, you have it's a magnetic tape, and the information is just stored on there, encoded in magnetic energy. So the magnetosphere of the Earth actually can record the memory of the Earth and record our own information in it, I believe. As you see here, this is ourselves with our own magnetosphere, which we do have from our nerves and our brain. And this is so this is all the information. This is all of that when we're traveling through the noosphere, like we were seeing in those graphs, in those Cartesian graphs. All that's recorded in this. So when we imagine things, which is how that the vehicle which we move through the noosphere in is our imagination. So when we remember, that's recorded in our own personal magnetosphere. When we imagine forward, when we imagine the different probabilities, all the perspectives that we experience. These are all recorded in our own personal magnetosphere. Here we have George Berkeley, an Irishman, whose philosophy kind of pointed in this direction. He believes in something called subjective idealism, which is basically that our senses take in information, and that's what we're experiencing. When I touch the computer, and when I can taste it and smell it and hear the hum of the spinning hard drive and whatnot, what I'm experiencing is the information that my brain is getting from that. I'm not actually feeling the computer, but what I'm feeling is the information that the computer gives to my body so that my brain can experience it. and that's what the universe